Hello everyone, I'm Audrey Miller and this is my YouTube channel called Living in Hayward, Wisconsin, where we talk about all things real estate related and also just some things about living in Hayward and what it's like in our area. And I have some fun videos regarding places to get the best fish fry or other recommendations for the area. I've got a video about old fashions. I've got lots of videos with real estate data, average sale prices, what lake should I buy property on, many other videos. So please check out my other videos if you've stumbled across this one in your searches for some reason. And feel free to like, subscribe, share my channel. Again, I am with Northwest Wisconsin Realty Team right here in Hayward, Wisconsin. I'm the broker owner of the firm. And today I'm going to share with you a little bit about real estate in Northwest Wisconsin in the wintertime. Talking a little bit about how that is for buyers and sellers that time of year, and also a little bit about how it is for a real estate agent and our clients working throughout the wintertime in northern Wisconsin. So hope you enjoy this information. So this is what showing property in the wintertime is like in Wisconsin. First of all, layers. Thick coat. This is what I call my mob boss wife vibes coat, but it is extremely warm. Then you got the sweater, you got the long john layer underneath that, and then you got your boots, long pants, another layer underneath that. And this is kind of how it goes. You're walking around in the snow, looking for septic or wells. Usually there's gloves, sometimes a hat involved, or doing this over your face to keep your nose from freezing. So these agents in Wisconsin were pretty hardy in terms of being able to do showings in the wintertime. You can see how much activity there's been at a property because you got tracks in the snow, and you know when it last snowed, so you're like, okay, nobody's been here for a bit. Maybe we have a better chance of negotiation here. So thankfully this winter we don't have too much snow. This is end of January almost. And we are only at about 4 or 5 inches of snow on the ground. So that's kind of nice. So then there's also the cold houses. So there's a lot of people in the winter time, they winterize their houses. That means sometimes draining the pipes completely and turning the heat off. So there are times when you go into these houses with buyers in the wintertime that it's actually colder inside the house than it is outside, even though it might only be 10 or 15 degrees outside, or colder if it's in January. Other people will not drain their pipes, but they'll keep their temperatures in their house just warm enough so that things don't freeze. So maybe 50, 55 degrees. Now I'll tell you, when you come in from the cold, 55 degrees feels really warm, especially if you're all bundled up. So that's not too bad, but showing these like 3-season cabins or other cabins that have been completely winterized, I'll tell you, people don't take their time as much in looking through those places as they do when it's warm. Another tip I have along those lines, if you are a seller, I think that it's wise to at least leave your house at a 55-degree temperature if you're going to have it on the market through the winter time. A place just does not have the same feel to it when you walk in and the power is off, so it's dark, it's cold. It just does not feel inviting. So I understand it costs you some money to keep it heated during the winter time, but my recommendation to a seller would either be to take it off the market for those few winter months when it's really cold, or keep it heated at least to the point of having some warmth when you go inside versus it feeling just dark and cold. And I would suggest leaving your power on. I don't see a big reason to turn off your power. Maybe you want to turn off your well pump. I understand not want to have, possibility of freezing pipes and all of that, but that's my recommendation. They also make these super cool devices now that I think most people are aware of. One brand is called Govee. There's other brands. You just put it in your house. You have an app on your phone and you set it to warn you if the temperature goes below 50 or 45 or whatever. And you will get an alert on your cell phone, if you have a smartphone, letting you know, hey, the temperature has fallen below whatever you have it set at. So that's like a really good way to keep track of your house, make sure you don't have pipes that freeze, even when you're maybe gone for 6-7 months at a time. But it's just a lot more inviting when you walk into a house that is actually a little warm when you're coming in from the blustery outdoors. So here is yet another joy of wintertime showings. Iced up lock boxes. So can't turn it to open it. Thankfully, in this case, the walk to the house is not too far, but here's the gate blocking us from going in. And the lockbox is iced up, and unfortunately I do not carry an lockbox de-icing tool. So anyway, just want to share with you the joys of wintertime in Wisconsin. Not for the faint of heart. You know, we don't do a lot of work this time of year, but there are definitely still people out and about, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, so we'll be walking. So here is another wintertime challenge as a real estate agent. How do you get the signs in the ground? So you can't, you know, it's frozen. So you can try, but it's frozen solid. So the only option is if there's deeper snow, you can put it in a snowbank, and then when the snow melts, your sign falls down. Or you can try to tack it to a tree, but that's not the best idea either. So these are the challenges of wintertime real estate in Wisconsin. So then as agents and our buyers, honestly, we deal with a lot of bad roads in the wintertime, unplowed driveways, that type of thing. And there's snow blowing over the roads. You're going out and about at dark, driving down back roads, and you know, it gets dark at 4:30 in the very shortest days of the year. So you might go do a showing at 4 o'clock or 3:30, and you're driving home in the dark, in the cold. You know, it snows a decent amount, not these last 2 years so much, unfortunately for snowmobilers, but we have a lot of snow-covered roads, slippery roads, thin layers of ice on the roads. So everybody's got to kind of brave the elements if they're going to go look at properties this time of the year. That said, there is a surprising amount of activity in the wintertime. The month of December is always the very slowest. So if you were a seller and you were going to take your property off the market even for 1 month to get it kind of a fresh look and a new listing, I would take it off for the month of December. Very little happens. People are preoccupied with Christmas, Thanksgiving, all kinds of family things. A lot of times that involves traveling. So they don't tend to look at properties much at all in the month of December. I will say for most on-water properties, I recommend leaving it off the market from probably sometime in November until at least end of February or early March. That's really our very slowest season. But anytime there's not snow and ice is a good time to have waterfront property on the market, in my opinion. However, I will say that I have gone under contract on 2 of the biggest lakefront properties of my career in the month of January. One on Lac-Courte, one on Long Lake. So it can happen. One of the things that happens in the wintertime, if you are a seller, is that there's very, very little competition on the market, especially for waterfront properties. So there may be somebody who's been watching your property and they're interested in it, and now you've left it on the market over the winter and they decide to make a move on it, and there's just not a ton of competition out there. So that can be a plus for you as a seller in terms of leaving it on the market through the wintertime. But you do want to be aware of your property becoming market worn by doing that. So there is some pros and cons. And if you're a buyer who is brave enough to look in the wintertime, first of all, bundle up. I showed a house on the day that our high this January of 2025 was 16 below zero. I wasn't sure who was crazier, me for going and showing it or my buyers for driving to see it, but we went and looked at it and it was so cold. It was on the water, so we were out there and the wind is blowing. I had to actually cover my face with my clothing so that it wouldn't freeze. You don't want to really show up to a showing with a, robber style ski mask on. So anyway, but I will say if you're a buyer who's brave enough to go and look in the winter time, there is a little more bargaining power often because the activity is so slow. So you may have a better opportunity to negotiate. You will have a very low selection of houses to look at, but if you've identified a property that you're really interested in, it may be a better time for you to negotiate or put you in a better negotiating position due to the unlikely circumstance of having multiple offers that time of the year, especially if the house has been on the market for a while. So these are some ideas for buyers and sellers, a little glimpse into the life of a real estate agent in northern Wisconsin in the wintertime. I do get out of here for about 6 weeks in the wintertime. This year I'm home the whole month of January, but gone part of December and part of February. And then I'll be back and ready to hit the ground running for the springtime rush that usually happens with a lot of properties coming on the market, and buyers are very ready to start looking once you get those few first 40 and 50 degree days and people feel like, okay, spring is coming. A lot of people don't like to move in the wintertime, so they want to wait to identify and purchase a property until it's at least March so they can move when it's nicer, maybe in May. But we're here all year, and even when I'm out of town, I have a wonderful team of agents who can assist with any showings. But yes, wintertime is not my favorite, but I do it, and I'm happy to help whatever I can.